Hey everybody, Marc Summers here. Welcome to Marc Summers Unwraps. Kevin Pollak was so fantastic. It's a two-parter. More fabulous stories.
Is it true that you did a 3-hour interview with Tom Hanks?
Just about 2 hours and 42 minutes, I think.
More great impressions.
It's Kevin Pollak calling, honey! Honey! There's not even a honey here. Kevin!
And don't forget to like and subscribe to Marc Summers Unwraps. I think they've all been fascinating, whether it's about business or entertainment, just trying to learn about growth. And when we had Jessica Nabongo on talking about being the first black woman who has been to all countries on the planet, there's a different perspective than a lady who started her own toy company, and then Kevin Pollak, who has done movies with every major motion picture star, has HBO specials, sat across from Johnny Carson many times, and does killer impressions. So, here's the thing about him. He was the most down-to-earth guy I think maybe we've ever had on this show. He was just a natural guy, very fun, very funny, not playing can you top this, being so confident and self-assured, which you don't find often in the entertainment industry. So he was impressive in many, many ways. The stories that you have with other humans, I don't even know where to start. You were getting ready to do a movie, and Scorsese and De Niro had to meet with you prior to getting the part.
Yeah, I'm on the set of Usual Suspects. Imagine this moment, and the agent calls saying Martin Scorsese would like you to be in his next film. It takes place in Las Vegas in the late 70s. The mob still runs the place. Nick Pileggi wrote it, who wrote Goodfellas. It's De Niro and Joe Pesci and Sharon Stone. And I said, you could have just said Martin Scorsese. I don't know why you're telling me everything else. I don't need to read the script. And he said, well, the next step is that you're going to meet first with De Niro, and then you're going to meet with Scorsese. I said, oh, so it's not an offer? No, it's an offer, but that's just how they do it. If you're in the main cast, they like to just sit with you for a minute. And I thought, so that I don't blow the opportunity by being a weirdo? He said, I think that's kind of the deal. Yeah, don't blow it. So yeah. So then I go to the Bel Air Hotel to meet Robert De Niro. And I'm, again, shooting The Usual Suspects, which is a very grubby look with a bit of a beard, Fu Manchu thing, a lot of facial hair, a lot of Jewy hair. I had it back then. And my character in Casino that I'll be playing is impeccably dressed and clean shaven and very buttoned down. So it's a different look. And for some reason, as I'm approaching Robert De Niro meeting, the most diverse actor maybe of his generation, I'm thinking, should I bring an 8x10 and say, this is what I normally look like? And so I go to the Bel Air Hotel and I meet with the casting director, a most important job in show business. And after you get an offer, and there's Rickles seated there.
At the Bel Air?
At the Bel Air.
Does he have to go and meet these guys?
He's got to go.
Oh, no kidding.
Well, everyone. This is the ritual. And so while she goes to check to make sure Bob is ready to see me.
You're talking to Rickles?
I'm talking to Rickles.
Now, did you know him well?
This is the first time we met.
Oh.
He's an absolute hero. And not just as a stand-up comedian, but he was a comedian who got to do film work, Kelly's Heroes,
yeah.
Right? And it's a drama. There's some comedy bits, and he's supplying them, but that's a drama. So he was in a hero in that regard too.
He was a great actor.
He was
if you go
wonderful.
back to even the Dick Van Dyke Show,
right?
When he was on that,
yeah,
playing a comedian, but yet Kelly's Heroes was 180 degrees from that.
Whenever a comedian got to be in a movie, speaking of Michael Keaton, he was the sort of pathway. When he did Night Shift, the Ron Howard film, the stand-up comedians of the day said, look, because Michael was a stand-up comedian at the Comedy Store probably when you were there.
He used to work with him all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what Rickles was to me. So then, and while we're sitting there, Rickles tells me he owns De Niro, and he's telling me how when he gets the job, he's going to destroy De Niro in front of the cast and crew, which he ultimately did, which De Niro loved. And Rickles knew he would love it. So I go to meet the great Robert De Niro in a bungalow. And again, I'm very concerned about how I look. And the door opens up, and there he is. And he looks like Howard Hughes in the last 11 minutes of his life.
Long nails?
Everyone always asks about the nails. That's hilarious.
It's true.
I've got to change it to Mr. Burns when he does Howard Hughes and lose the nails bit. Although, did he have the nails or just the hands? But it's the feet in the shoe in the Kleenex boxes and the yeah. But basically, he's between gigs and he's let himself go. He's got a much bigger beard. He's got crazy hair.
Oh, really?
And I crumple up the 8x10 and throw it into the bushes outside the bungalow at the Bel Air Hotel. And he walks me in. The blackout drapes are drawn. There's not a light in the place. I can barely see as he's guiding me towards two chairs across from each other in the middle of this giant bungalow. And he's basically saying, how you doing? How you doing? Have a seat. Can I get you anything? I'm okay, thank you. Because in my mind, all I have to do is not say anything.
Yeah.
I'm clearly here to not be a weirdo, idiot, sycophant, whatever.
See, I'm intimidated by celebrities.
Of course.
So to be in a room with him.
To this day.
Yes, I would probably just shit myself, you know?
I didn't realize we were allowed to say that. I would have said those words long ago, Mark. Yes. So there I was shitting myself. And in the dark, as the great one says, have a seat. How you doing? And again, I'm just not going to speak.
You can't do him unless
without
you do
making
the faces,
face.
right?
Yeah, sorry. So he basically says 3 or 4 times the following. So anyways, I just wanted to meet, say hello, and you sure I can't get you anything? No, I'm fine, thank you. Okay, all right. How you doing? I'm doing okay. Okay,
seriously?
Good. Yeah, I swear to God. All right. Well, like I said, I just want to meet you, say hello, and salad, sandwich, anything? No, I'm fine, thank you.
Fine.
That's all I said was I'm fine, thank you.
How long does this go on?
9 minutes. He just keeps repeating these things. Waiting, I guess, for me to say something, and I won't. I'm not going to blow this. That's my objective.
Oh, my God.
And I don't. And eventually he says, all right, well, thanks for coming by. And he walks me out, and Ellen Lewis, the casting director, a famed, wonderful person, says, how'd it go? And I said, I have no idea. And she said, let me guess. He said, hi, how you doing? Can I get you anything?
She knew the routine.
And I said, yes, because other people must have come out of that room saying,
my God.
all he said was, hi, how you doing? Can I get you anything?
Oh, my God.
And so she's walking me back, and she said, did you say much? And I said, no, I said, I'm okay. Thank you, sir. And he said, she said, then you'll be fine. And I was. And then Rickles, as I'm walking out, said, how'd it go, kid? And I said, oh, my God. Don, it was horrible. He wouldn't shut up. He just kept talking. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Have a good day. And that was that.
Rickles was the nicest man in the entertainment industry. He really was a sweet guy. And, he couldn't work today.
Nope.
That career wouldn't exist.
Hashtag canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite part of doing Casino, as it turns out, was actually Don Rickles.
Really?
Because we were the only Jew comics on set, and we clung to each other, and he took me under his wing, and he did. In fact, we were stuck there so long, 20 weeks, and Don and I are in the movie a total of 9 minutes. But the way Marty shoots is he may change his mind every morning about what he wants to shoot, so you need to be there. But it's a 45-minute flight to L.A. So, we would ask, can we go back? Can we go home? And then I was stuck there so long, I called my stand-up agent and said, you got to book me on the Strip, an opening up gig for somebody.
And did you get one?
And he got me opening up for the Four Tops at the Desert Inn. So one day I'm called into work on Casino, and I walk in the hair and makeup truck, and Rickles is already in the barber chair getting made up. And I sit next to him, and he says, hey, kid, I saw your name on the marquee on the way to work today. That's a great gig you got yourself there. And he says, I'm opening up for Frank all summer. Let me know if you need tickets. I mean, come on.
See, that's when show business was show business.
Yeah.
I
took my friends to see Don also because he too got himself a gig while he was working on Casino, but he's headlining. And so there's 4 of my best friends growing up, and we're sitting in one of those round booth things. And in his act, he would have famous people stand up and take a bow. And he included me in that, probably only because we were working together. And then you go backstage afterwards, and I have my 4 closest friends, and they're going to meet Don Rickles, and they can't believe it. And perfectly for me, he's going down the line and cutting them all to pieces, and I'm in heaven. And then he lays into me a little bit, so they have something to laugh about. And then Tom Hanks and Marty Short, who are also in the audience, walk in. And Rickles sees them and then looks to me and says, people are here, Kevin. Good to see you. And walks away. Yeah.
First time I met Rickles, as my last job was a page at CBS for the Jimmy Cagney AFI dinner.
Oh my God.
And I'm standing in the presence of Jimmy Cagney, shaking,
Sure.
wanting to sign a picture. And next to me is Rickles. And Rickles was like a 9-year-old kid. Oh, Mr. Cagney, it's a pleasure to meet you. I can't believe I'm standing in front of you.
See?
Would you do me a favor? Would you please sign? And
It's all relative, isn't it?
It really is. He was in awe
Yeah.
of Cagney, as we all were.
Yeah.
And the fact that Rickles was next to me, shaking in his boots as much as I was,
Right.
I always found that to be
Yeah.
absolutely fascinating.
Yeah,
You know, back when, I was lucky enough to meet so many of these people. I met Sammy and I had an album cover that I wanted him to sign. And I said, it's Mark, M-A-R-C. And he says, yeah, no problem. And he goes, of course, wrote M-A-R-K. It's sort of like Rich Little to you. It's like they kind of half listen, but
Yeah. I didn't mention about my first Tonight Show. I was bumped the way so many people are because they ran out of time before I had my historic moment. But the reason I got bumped was because Sammy Davis Jr., one of my heroes also, did 4 songs. No one had ever done 3.
no, 2
Sammy did 4.
He
2
did-
was very rare.
Yeah.
Sammy did 4, and I'm in the dressing room. You'd call in that situation. I'd called every person I'd ever met in my entire life.
I was bumped for a year.
Watch the Tonight Show tonight. I'm on. We're taping from 5:30 to 6:30. It'll be on tonight. So when you're bumped, I'm kicking the walls in
Yes.
the dressing room.
Yes. Because nobody believes you at this point that you're actually going to do the show.
You got bumped because you're not good enough. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
They're thinking.
Yeah.
And also, you have to call 67 people and say the same exact thing.
Yeah,
and
sorry.
they want to talk, and you don't. And that's all I'm thinking about while I'm kicking the walls. This moment I made happen. I made this happen. Don't you understand? Sammy, stop singing. And then afterwards, he walks right into my dressing room. I am so sorry.
Oh, did he really?
You kids with the whole shakunk kakunk. That's a quote. And
He
then
really
we
said
went
that?
out to the parking lot and took a picture of Sammy Davis Jr. and I loved him again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I went home and called 67.
Yeah. Well, I stopped telling people because nobody believed me at some point,
Yeah.
I got bumped for a year. Warren Beatty.
Oh, almost killed him.
That's what I hear.
I almost killed him.
What happened?
Well, he was also an acting hero to so many people who grew up in the heyday of his career in the 70s, right? He started clearly in the 60s, maybe 50s.
Was it Shampoo and some of those?
But those Shampoo movies and what have you, and even in the 60s, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
So at the premiere of A Few Good Men, he walked up out of the ether in a tuxedo or whatever you would wear of the day and was effusive and made a point of singling me out and letting me know how important my character is to the story, and those were
Really?
not easy shoes to fill. I'm a lifelong friend of Jack, and it's difficult to think of anyone in a film when Jack is in it, and I'm thinking about you. I
Wow.
thought you were terrific.
Very nice.
Extraordinary. And then he offered me a role in, he did a remake of the film, I'm not going to remember the name, but Gary Shandling ended up doing the part because I wasn't, I was working on something else. But he was very kind to just offer me this part and take me to lunch in the Warner Brothers commissary with the director. And it's so funny how the brain works, right? At that point, the head of television at Warner Brothers wanted me to do my own show. And we were in talks. But there I am with Warren Beatty and the director of this film. And so I see the head of Warner Brothers walking by and I wave hello. And he's warned me with Warren Beatty. And it was just one of those.
Oh, magical moment.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Who was the head of Warner's at the time who was talking? Do you remember?
Les Moonves.
Les?
Yeah, of course.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah. Who was one of my biggest fans for the longest time. And so anyways, that was a magical moment. But then, so when Warren came up for A Few Good Men, that was the first time we met. And then these other things happened. And then when I did Avalon with Barry Levinson, he did Bugsy, starring Warren Beatty. And so I went to visit the set. And, just to watch Warren Beatty work, right? I'd only met him socially, which is an out-of-body experience, but to be on set and watch someone like that work in a arguably brilliant performance, and I to this day think it was one of his best. That's the arguable part, but
but I agree with you. I think it was.
Yeah, it was almost unsung
Yeah.
in terms of how tremendous. And so I'm watching him work, and he's got the chef's hat on. It's that scene where he's in the kitchen making a cake for his daughter, and he has to go out and talk to these three idiots from the mob, and it's just magical. And that particular day when I visited, Warren was suffering from bronchitis. So Levinson, who again had directed me at Avalon, and a friend of mine had this great stand-up bit about a baseball announcer running out of statistics on the batter at the plate, and he has to improvise. And these are the last people you want improvising. And so it was a bit that Barry Levinson thought was hilarious. And so when I go in between setups, Barry says, do the, that baseball bit you did for me there? Do that bit for Warren. He's in Baltimore. This is the way they talk. So I did the bit for Warren, and he's laughing so hard and instantly, as I guess a big baseball fan. He's wheezing. He's coughing like he's about to die. And I stopped the bit. And then he's like gesturing, no, please go on. And the more I go on, the more he coughs. And if there's blood on a handkerchief, I'm going to jail.
That routine, by the way, can you do 20 seconds of it?
Only because it's not mine.
Yeah,
you know how that goes.
Yeah,
I'm a little hesitant. I mean, it's Jim Edwards.
Yes.
I will give him full credit.
It's brilliant.
I need everyone to know Jim Edwards, because it really was considered one of the all-time greats. He then went on to say that I did it better than him because I would do it with his permission to other people, but never on stage and never on a podcast. But I did say, as I said, the baseball announcers improvising is just a bad idea.
Yeah.
They've got stats in front of them, and they need to stick to them.
Yeah.
So they would basically run out of things. Because the batter kept fouling off the 3-2 pitch.
Right.
That was the issue.
Right.
Here's a 3-2 pitch, fouled off again. Hey, did anybody ever see E.T.? Little fella just wanted to go home, didn't he? Boy, we sure could use him now in our bullpen with that split-fingered fastball. E.T., ouch, some kind of space creature. Here's a 3-2 pitch, fouled off again. And that's all I'll do. But that's Jim Edwards.
So funny.
Jim Edwards.
So funny.
Yeah, but the
So
bit
Warren
goes on.
lived.
The bit goes on for like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I am forced to do the entire 6 minutes.
It gets...
And he's, with every one of those references,
right.
like E.T., he's losing his mind.
because it's brilliant.
And thank you, Jim Edwards.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic.
For helping me almost kill Warren.
Jack Nicholson, another major force in the industry. I mean, you've worked with every major person.
Yeah, I'm thinking a tribute show. I just don't want to do Broadway 8 shows a week, but I'm thinking a tribute show in 3 parts called Pacino, Jack, and
telling stories.
And Chris Walken. Just me doing the 3 of them.
Yeah.
And devoting like a half.
You don't want to do Broadway though, huh? You could.
Well, here's the thing about the couple of opportunities I've had over the years, because I came up in stand-up comedy and had no formal training. I'm not proud of it as an actor, just the way it went. I have great respect for theater performers, actors, and every time we go to the theater, it's just an amazing experience. But 8 shows a week saying exact same words in exact same order, as much as my act hasn't changed much in 30 years. Yeah. And also, why am I sharing the stage with all these other people? I mean, that would go through my mind.
Yeah, I get that. But you wouldn't have to in this situation.
Stand-up, right. So that would be the reason. And if I could do a 6-week run, then it would be great. But yeah, because Nicholson's stories, he's otherworldly. He never really gave on-camera interviews. He was never on The Tonight Show. He was never on Charlie Rose. Never on any of those shows. Dick Cavett, any of them. He only gave a few interviews in print. He was a mystery. And but on set, he was the most goofy and gregarious.
Was he really?
I did not see that coming. I thought a guy that cool, you'd have to speak about him, not to him. But he was the most approachable and silly and
totally prepared at all times.
Well, him doing the soliloquy on the stand.
Yes.
You need me on that wall. You want me on that wall. He never missed a syllable. He was just letter perfect every single take.
Huh.
And they shot that for 5 days.
5 days?
To get all the coverage.
Really?
Yeah, of all the various.
That's why movies I could never do.
Well, he was making $500,000 a day. He worked a total of 10 days
Poor baby.
for $5 million. And I remember thinking and never having the nerve to ask him, Jack, when you make $500,000 a day, do you hit the snooze alarm? or do you race into the shower
Probably
to
race.
begin that day?
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, and my folks visited, and he was very sweet and took pictures with him, and yeah,
Really menschy guy.
just truly and exceptionally. And well, the one huge story, well, there were many, but the day Magic Johnson announced he was HIV positive was an earth-shattering day for heterosexuals in particular.
I remember exactly where I was.
Sure, because it was a high-profile family man, very famous, and this was the first time at that level of notoriety that a family man contracted this horrific, terrible, historically awful disease, and it had decimated a certain populace, did not involve the heterosexual community. So it was always their problem, not ours. And then the day with Magic, people were walking around the set of A Few Good Men when the news broke on a giant soundstage.
Nicholson being the largest Lakers fan in history.
Yeah, and people are zombies. They don't know what to do. It was really, I remember it as being such earth-shattering information. And slowly I would see them gravitate towards Jack, the authority. What does this mean? They just wanted answers. What does this mean? How did this happen? And so I left Jack alone, which was my practice as we worked together, was to pretty much leave him alone at all costs. And so at one point we're released from set and I'm walking back to my trailer and I hear somebody mumbling behind me. It's maybe a 40-yard walk from set to trailer. And along this walk, about 5 feet behind me, I see is Jack, and he's mumbling to himself. And I realize he's saying, "It's surreal. It's just surreal. The whole damn thing. It's so damn surreal." He puts his hand on his trailer door and he stops, turns back to me and says, "You want to know surreal?" And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, Jack Nicholson, did you just ask me if I wanted to know what you think is surreal?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure. I got a minute. I'm doing this picture, Chinatown. I'm sorry, Jack Nicholson. Did you just start a story with, "I'm doing this picture, Chinatown"? I'm doing this picture, Chinatown, and I'm rehearsing this scene with John Huston. You have to understand the man is like a surrogate father to me. I worship the ground he walks on. More important to me than anyone I've ever met. And as we're rehearsing, I see over his shoulder his daughter Angelica is about 50 yards away walking towards us, having decided to come visit. And, well, I had just started banging her a couple of weeks before, and I hadn't figured out a way to tell the old man. I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want him angry at me.
Oh my God.
I didn't want him disappointed. I would have killed her if that's what he wanted. And I'm thinking all this as we're rehearsing the scene. And at the exact moment I come out of these thoughts, his character says to mine, "Mr. Giddish, are you sleeping with my daughter?" And Jack says to me, "And now that's surreal." And he spins on a dime and walks into his trailer.
Oh my God.
And I'm in a parking lot.
Looking around.
Looking for a witness.
Did this
Anybody
really
else see that? Now, I've told the story very few times. I eventually got comfortable enough to tell it on stage, and have only told it a few times on stage. But I will say that each time I tell it, I realize one more thing, and I just now did. A, how long had he been thinking about that story? B, he was telling it like he had never told anyone before. C,
Probably
why
not.
me?
Why you?
Also, why did you feel the dying need to express your interpretation of the word surreal? All of it. It was.
What a moment.
It was the most surreal moment I've had.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
By
My
far.
God.
Yeah, but he blessed us with.
Big fan. I was a page on All in the Family, and always admired Rob Reiner at that young age. Living under the roof of Carl could not have been easy.
Yeah.
So how do you break through? You're pretty good friends with this gentleman, as far as I know.
Rob Reiner?
Yes.
Well, certainly. I mean, he changed my life in '92,
He did.
and we've remained friends over the years.
Good
It's
guy.
Not like we're having lunch on a regular basis,
Right.
But yeah, we were texting not too long ago because he's this had to have been announced somewhere. I don't know if it's up to me to share, but he's doing a documentary it's going to be absolutely extraordinary. And so we were talking about doing that very thing, having lunch ASAP, as they say. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, he completely changed my life in every possible way.
And that movie was, I don't know how you pick your best work, but that certainly was one that stands out to me.
Well, it was just
It's so different than who you are, as I know you as a stand-up.
Truly, but also lightning in a bottle in terms of my opportunity of being in it.
Yeah.
I'm having lunch with him every day because we're working on a different project as he was gearing up to do that movie.
Wow.
I mean, every day. And he one day waved his considerable finger in my face and said, my next movie it was a big Broadway hit called A Few Good Men, and I've got Tom Cruise. And I went, oh my God. And he said, I think we're going to get Jack Nicholson. Anyways, there's this part of Tom's co-counsel and friend that you're kind of perfect for, I'm realizing. I've got an offer out to Jason Alexander, but if Seinfeld gets picked up for a second season, he won't be available, and you're kind of perfect for it. I'm dying inside, and also immediately praying for Jason Alexander's success.
Yes.
Now, it was on the fence, that decision about picking up Seinfeld.
Yeah, because it died the first season.
It only aired 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Seinfeld Chronicles.
Seinfeld Chronicles.
It was on Friday night.
Nobody knew what it was.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And Rob Reiner's company, Castle Rock, was the production entity behind it, which is why he knew so much about it and was so familiar with Jason. And it worked out pretty well for both Jason and I as that show got picked up, and my life changed forevermore. Yeah.
Mathau and Lemon.
Well, that you're talking Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
In many ways, also 2 guys who were character actors who got to be movie stars. Yeah, again,
Mathau was a character.
I keep using these hero terms, but Mathau, born with the face of a basset hound.
Oh, yeah. But brilliant.
Brilliant beyond belief. One of the smartest men I've ever met.
Really?
Yeah.
Gambling as big as we hear?
Well, when I first met him the very first time, I tried to make small talk like an idiot. Hey, Walter, script's pretty good, huh? The script sucks, kid. I owe my bookie $2 million. And I only mentioned it because you mentioned the gambling. He wasn't kidding. And on the back of the, I guess you'd call it, program at his memorial service were his picks for that Sunday.
Oh, no.
Before he passed. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah. He told me that he went to the racetracks with Fred Astaire every Sunday or Saturday
that is
for maybe
odd.
20-something years. And he could never get Fred Astaire to swear as hard as he tried. The hell's the matter with you? Aren't you angry? And, of course he was angry. We just lost a bundle. He just couldn't get him to swear, ever.
Sake.
And after 20-something years of this, Walter told me he got an envelope, a manila envelope delivered to the home with just his name on the front. And he opened it, and it was a cassette tape saying, play me. And he put it in the thing, and he played it. And it was a race, a horse race. Fred Astaire was the announcer, and he was calling the race, as they say.
Right.
From start to finish, which is a goodly amount of time. And the name of every horse was the most disgusting swear word
Seriously?
you ever heard in your entire life. I won't repeat any of it now, but Walter...
Have you heard the tape?
But Walter basically reenacted it for me.
Oh, my God.
And it was horrifying, these words that Fred Astaire found from the King's English.
Oh, my.
And I begged Walter, of course, to let me hear the tape. And he said, it's in a vault, kid. It's in a vault. Yeah. So someone find that tape and put it in a museum.
That would be amazing. And Jack Lemmon seemed like the sweetest guy.
They 2 of them shared an apartment while we shot.
Oh, my. It was The Odd Couple.
The Odd Couple lived together while we shot. Turns out there was only one exceptional penthouse suite in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And they found it, and there was another master bedroom at the other end of it. So while their reps were arguing over which one was going to get it, they decided to live together. And they would invite us up on occasion, and there would be a grand piano in the middle of this giant suite, and there'd be Jack playing the piano. And yeah, just the sweetest. And a lot of actors have said who have worked with him that before every take, he would, the process is
magic time. He would.
Someone would say roll sound, indicating it's time to begin recording the sound. The sound engineer would then yell out speed, letting everyone know that sound's ready. And then we would wait for the director to say action. And in between the word speed and the director saying action, Jack Lemmon would say to himself, apparently every single time, and to himself, truly a whisper.
Yes, I've heard this.
Magic time.
Yeah.
And, I got to him pretty late in his life. That story had been told forever and ever. But it hit me in a big way in terms of, what's the reason for that? Clearly you don't need to remind yourself that, you're about to do something magical. And he said it was a way to center his thoughts. And no matter what, because everything's always buzzing around on a set right before a take. People are telling jokes, making small talk to maybe calm their nerves, what have you. and he would just do it to get to, the perfect center before every take, I guess. And so those sort of things. And also he would.
Did Carl get upset about that line? I'm sorry. Did Walter get upset when he said the line?
Said magic time?
Yeah.
He would tease him.
He would tease him.
He would not necessarily be upset, but he would definitely tease him. This again, that sort of thing. What's magic about it? Have you seen the dailies?
Just the two of them in the same room.
They busted each other's chops constantly, which was loving as opposed to threatening.
So, Jerry Lewis was my idol. Okay. And I couldn't wait to meet Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
He invited me on the telethon, told me not to talk to him. I get done doing the telethon piece, and he's yelling at me live, "Mark, come over here." And the stage manager's motioning me to come over. I mean, he would screw with me every time that he was with me. So what was your experience with Jerry Lewis?
Well, mine was a bit photo opposite, and maybe, I don't know. Listen, he was quite old. And basically came out of retirement to do this movie. And the phone call I got first was from the agent saying, Jerry Lewis wants to talk to you, saw your stand-up special, wants to talk to you. And I said to my, at that point, 30-plus year stand-up agent, our relationship, 30-plus years, I said, Rich, you should put Jerry on the short list of people you don't have to ask me if it's okay to give them my number.
Yeah.
Jerry should be on that, So I call him back at his home number, and he answers, and disgruntled, as you expressed.
Oh, yeah.
It's Kevin Pollak, and now he's a happy child. It's Kevin Pollak calling, honey! Honey! There's not even a honey here. Kevin! I saw your stand-up special. I have notes.
I have notes.
Well, I thought it was the hippest joke in the world, because I saw your stand-up special means it's already out.
Yeah.
And it's playing on cable or whatever. So the fact that he has notes, we're past but it turns out he had written out notes for this phone call when I should call him. Returning his call. And then I used to do this move with the microphone. They usually have a round bass at the bottom. So I would lean the mic back and then kick the bass at the bottom, and it would roll away from me behind me. And it was a move that Jerry clearly noticed, because his first thing on the notes was, when you came out and did the move with the mic stand, did you have to join a separate union for that? Ah!
Did he really?
Yes. And now I realize Jerry's performing for me.
Yeah,
what's happening? He's in his 80s.
Yeah.
Let's start there. I live in Las Vegas. If you're ever here, if I'm ever there,
I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. So I flew out and we went to lunch, and he brought a bag of mastered DVDs of him and Dean, their movies together, Martin and Lewis, like 10 of them, a collection, crazy. And at the bottom of them is a script, and I bring it out, and it's called Max Gold, maybe Max something, the name of his character. And he says, I'm coming out of retirement to star in this movie, and I want you to play my son. And, and I'm losing my mind, basically, regardless of all the not great stories of this man throughout history. He's also Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And so I end up doing the movie.
You did?
Yeah. And Max Rose. Sorry. I knew I'd get it.
And this was a feature?
It was a feature film that nobody saw that I'm aware of.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yep. And the experience of doing that with him brought us to the Cannes Film Festival. Well, of course, he's beloved in France.
Yeah.
And so my experience was
a little different.
I mean,
where'd you go to lunch?
We went to Olives at the Bellagio.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's still there, but it was then. And just walking through a casino and a hotel and a restaurant with Jerry Lewis, dressed as Jerry Lewis should be, in red and black, and people just losing their minds. And he was probably mid-80s at that point. Yeah.
You always have to be careful about meeting your heroes.
Well, the thing with Rich Little, certainly meeting him on stage, historical. Meeting him afterwards, not so great.
Yeah. You just.
But I didn't mention the thing about doing the Peter Falk on that first Tonight Show. a little button here to the story, was being accosted at the produce section at Ralph's by Peter Falk 6 weeks after the Tonight Show.
Oh, really?
He had seen the episode and asked me, "How do you do that with your eye?" Me, I understand. How do you do that?
Did you know Robin Williams?
Yeah, very well. He had started in stand-up in San Francisco, and he was probably 2 years before Dana Carvey and I. But he remained living there while he was enjoying the launch of Mork. He would come back to San Francisco, Mork and Mindy, and to the point where he appeared in that HBO special I spoke of, doing a very, very funny bit. David Steinberg, the comedian, was my director, and so I was doing like a mockumentary before Larry Sanders, and basically Madonna's Truth or Dare concert had come out, where her concert's in color and the documentary backstage is in black and white. So David Steinberg said, "That's what you guys should do. You should do the mockumentary." So he was a director off camera, and the camera was following me around. And at one point, the camera catches me in my dressing room, sitting in front of a mirror, surrounded by light bulbs, and I'm talking to the mirror. The voiceover is me saying, over the years, people have always asked me, how do you learn an impersonation? And it's, I think I found the perfect method. And then they would come out of the narration into me speaking into the mirror in the dressing room as Robin Williams. "Whoa, thank you very much. No, I can't do it. No, that's not it. God damn it." I was like, "No. Whoa, down, Mr. Happy." "No, shit, that's not it." And I look to my right and I go, "How did you do it?" And the camera widens out and Robin's standing right there. And I stand up and now he's walking me through how to do the physical impersonation and mocking me while doing it. And he was just cool to come to this theater and shoot this little
sweet
thing.
guy.
And, yeah, incredibly so. And in fact, we were talking at great length when I was about ready to direct that documentary, Misery Loves Comedy. You have to be miserable to be funny. And we spoke on the phone a couple of hours on 2 different occasions. And while he wasn't, quote unquote, available to do the documentary, I could sense in our conversations that he had something to say on the topic.
Really?
But I wasn't so much in the inner circle that I knew truly what he was suffering from. That only his children, I feel, and super inner circle knew at the time of his demise.
Yeah, Letterman the night after, he said, I knew the man for 30 years, but apparently I really didn't know him.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us did. He was always kind. I went to a dinner in New York in his honor, and I mean, it was Walter Cronkite and a who's who of everybody. And he walked out of the kitchen. He saw me, came over to me because we worked the store together, and he said, "Oh, thank you for coming." I said, "What do you think when you walk into a room and you see these people here to honor you?" And he said, "Well, look at you. Look what you've done. Look at your career." And I thought, really?
Yeah, that was him.
That was him. Just the sweetest.
Unbelievably generous.
Yeah. I always thought he was amazing. I have a dozen other things, but I'll wrap this up pretty quick here. What is...
By the way, I'm only slightly less impressed that you brought a copy of the hardcover of the book I wrote to our interview with all the incredibly impressive research you've done for other people and gifts you brought them. It just dampened down the experience of seeing, oh my God, he's got a copy of the book. And now I'm just incredibly less impressed, Mark. I just needed you to know that. Everyone else got gifts and bags of things. And
well, this is how I do my research.
Yeah.
It was tough to find, by the way.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
But
on eBay for 9 cents.
No, I paid probably full price. Christopher Walken, what is the deal with you and Christopher Walken? Tell me.
Well, there's no deal. It's just he became what Nicholson was in the 90s in terms of wildly pedestrian impersonation to do. And I think he's doing one now.
Do you think so?
Right? Leaning into it, I think. Sure. And why not? My goodness, he does the best one. But yeah, I did the impression on Conan, a couple of talk shows. And then I was asked to be one of the 2 speakers when he got his hands and feet and signature in the cement in front of the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, which was very bizarre to me because the other speaker was Quentin Tarantino, of course, directed him in Pulp Fiction. I'd never met Christopher Walken. I knew why I was there because whoever organizes these things knows that I do the impersonation, right? I just felt bad for him. Really, me? I'm the other person that's at this incredible honor?
But you do it the best.
Well, but still, we didn't know each other. Should have had. So that was the first time I met him, and I was doing the impression in front of him for the 50 members of the press who'd gathered for this moment. But to see him bent at the waist forward, laughing uncontrollably at me doing the impression was the okay sign from John.
Yeah.
And then, Jamie and I went to see him backstage at a behanding in Spokane, a Mick Donough play on Broadway. So we'd see each other a couple of times here and there. But, if you Google Christopher Walken impersonation, sometimes 30,000 search answers come up.
You're always first.
That's how pedestrian it is to do him.
Everybody does him, I guess.
There are 5 pages on YouTube dedicated to Asians doing Christopher Walken. And they're hilarious. But I'm number 1, and that and $6 will get me a coffee at Starbucks. But it is weird, my relationship with Christopher Walken. And then I did a very short-lived podcast called Talking with Walken. Talking Walken? Oh, I would have a guest on, and we would talk about whatever the minutiae of life on that particular day. And I would speak only as Christopher Walken. But we wouldn't reference him or me. The guest was just talking to Christopher Walken. It was just surreal and stupid. But that's how, because to me, an impersonation is best when it's conversational.
Yeah, of course.
So others would do Walken by being bigger than life. Wow. And to me, that was, the pedestrian version. So what interests me, Mark, at all times was a conversational Walken. When you speak to a person, you don't necessarily have to say anything. That's where my chi lives.
Christopher Lloyd's my neighbor. Do a little Christopher Lloyd.
Oh my God. He was part of the original arrows in my quiver on my first HBO special in 1988, I want to say. It was part of the comedian half hour comedy specials. I was in the first batch. And I did this bit where it was set in the world of Star Trek, and because I did William Shatner, he was the other big one. And then everyone else in the Star Trek cast was replaced by someone famous, right? And I think when me as William Shatner, as Captain Kirk, I went to Spock, was it? Spock, what the hell's happening to my ship? I don't know, Captain. Probably one of these doohickeys. Some stupid thing like that.
It's just brilliant.
From 20.
I love it. And Woody.
Ago. Yeah, well, without sounding a bit didactic, Mark, it's extremely pervasive if you'd ask these questions. My favorite thing about Woody is that he was openly admitted he ripped off Bob Hope in that famous little gesture of his. First belonged to Bob Hope, that.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. We all are inspired or steal from our heroes.
Yeah, it's true.
Being the story there.
Whether we want to or not, it just kind of...
Which is kind of the through line of this interview.
Big poker player, I understand, huh?
I'm a couple of weeks away from playing yet again in the World Series of Poker main event. Yeah.
What is it that gets you excited about
In fact, someone's sponsoring the hat, but I've still got Patch Room on my shirt. If anybody would like to be a part of my venture.
Is this in Vegas?
Yes, I'm probably the only famous person you know that's finished in the money a couple of times and also gone as far as I have, where I could see the remaining 14 tables out of 6,750 players.
Oh my!
I finished 134. Yeah.
Too much stress. I couldn't do it.
Yes, it was a long 6 days.
Yeah,
for sure.
I could imagine.
Yeah, 12-hour days. More stress than I've ever felt working on any movie ever.
Really?
And that includes a 22-hour day on The Usual Suspect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it true that you did a 3-hour interview with Tom Hanks?
Just about 2 hours and 42 minutes, I think.
Really?
John Landis held the record at 2 hours and 52 minutes. Yeah, Kevin Pollak's chat show ran 10 years, 400 episodes, still available on the YouTube. In 2009, we launched when you had to explain to people what a podcast was. There were less than 50. I think there are something like 3 million now.
There's 3 million, right?
Chance for me again to plug the new one, my Mrs. Maisel pod, however you get your podcasts.
Let's talk about Mrs. Maisel, and then I'll let you go because I'm sure you have more important things to do. But
too late.
What a great series, and the character that you play, the father-in-law, one of my favorite. I mean, what a great. It must have been one of your favorite things to do. Come on.
Well, it is the best job I've ever had. It was my favorite thing to do for many, many, many reasons. Most of which, if not all of which, get discussed. I have one of my castmates or someone who worked behind the camera as a guest on this podcast every episode, and it's a rewatch breaking down what was actually happening on set as we were making it, and that's the sort of inside skinny that I'm sure you've heard from your fans. That's all they want to know. What was in the slime?
Yeah,
sort of questions.
Yeah.
What was it made of? They just really want to know, and if you don't have the right answer, you're a bastard. So yeah, the deal for me was, A Few Good Men was so concerned about getting caught acting, again, having not had any formal training, that I did a technique that I had to be told was a technique called less is more. And it worked so well that I ultimately, as I like to say, made a film career out of doing nothing. That is to underplay the scene. In my case, to the fear of never wanting to be caught acting, but also just to appear real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never a caricature. So then Moish Maisel comes along, and I'm a bloviating, loud, obnoxious Jew, getting the best reviews of my life. And everyone insisting, including my better half, it's the role you were born to play.
It was so brilliant.
So apparently, I've wasted an entire career
No.
doing less is more. I should have been doing more is more for 35 years instead.
The young lady who played the lead, I can't ever pronounce her last name.
Rachel Brosnahan,
Yeah.
multi-award winning genius.
Fact that she had no background in stand-up and delivered the way she delivered.
Mark, she's not funny. I'll go a step further.
She's not funny, huh?
She'll be the first to tell you.
She
She
killed.
doesn't
in
have
that
what
role.
we call funny bones.
She was fantastic.
She could take Amy Sherman Palladino's and Dan Palladino's dialogue, or those monologues, with very specific comedic timing, as you can well appreciate.
Yeah.
And as a brilliant, award-winning dramatic actress, sell them like she's a comedian. People think she does stand-up.
100% convinced.
Yeah.
You know,
And that was the thing, hearing from my stand-up friends when the show first dropped, to hear them say, so how have I never heard of the stand-up Rachel Brosnahan? Well, because she's not a stand-up.
not doing it.
Yeah.
Tell me about Tony Shalhoub. I'm so impressed with everything he does.
Brothers from another mother.
Really?
Well, he's Lebanese, I'm Jewish, we're natural-born enemies. But we had never met.
Really?
How about that? Well, because if you're casting a movie, you cast him or me, not
Yeah.
both of us.
Yeah.
So,
Is he New York based?
yes, and originally from Wisconsin,
Oh my.
big Packers fan. But he and I got along instantly. Mad love affair. My favorite moments are doing scenes with him. My character driving his crazy. In fact, in real life, when we would go to lunch or dinner in New York, just the two of us, people who were fans of the show would see us and thought worlds were colliding.
Oh, I bet.
And they didn't understand. And we would get our meals bought for us often, just so people could stop by and say,
Really?
"Why are you two together?" My favorite scenes were the two or three where it was just Rachel Brosnahan and I, if I were to pick my absolute favorites, because they were so rare that she and I had scenes where it was just the two of us. And she's just so brilliant. But Tony makes me laugh the hardest when I watch the show because of his gesturing and his timing and everything. It's just so, I mean,
Monkey
he's
was brilliant.
Magical.
Yeah.
Magical.
And they're doing a Monk movie, I understand. which
He's
is,
shooting now still, yeah.
I mean, it's just the career I always wanted. You lived, and it's really
Well, as
exciting.
it says in the title of the book, How I Slept My Way to the Middle. If you think it's lonely at the top, I'm here to tell you it's fantastic in the middle.
Not a bad place to be. As we sign off here, I have a gentleman who I think is one of the funniest people in show business. Everybody does an impression of him. I understand you do
Richard
as well.
Kind?
You knew it. How did you know that?
Well, you led me down the path that words I've said myself many times. Listen, Mark, let me tell you something very clear, and I don't want you to repeat this. You're an idiot. Can I be honest with you? How do you have this show? Who does this? Who produces this? Are the people behind the window? Hello?
We were doing a show in New York, and it was we had to take everybody's cameras away from them, and it was the most obscene show that we could put on. And
The two of you?
It was me, Alex Brightman, a lot of people. Brightman was doing filthy haikus. Okay, I mean, it was-
that's great.
They were
Wow.
gigantic. And Richard's backstage yelling at us. Why? Well, I can't do it. I'm the only person who can't do it. Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do it? You know, and he was yelling at us. Meanwhile, he was backstage. But
Yeah.
And by the way, no matter where I am in New York, Richard is backstage. Right? He's everywhere. Does this man have a family? Does he have a life?
Well, he goes to the opening of a refrigerator. Let's
I know.
start there. But I love him dearly, madly, and there was just a great, amazing piece just came out about him.
Where?
A tribute honoring him in the New York Times.
I'll have to see this.
Uh,
He's in everything, by the way.
I now belong to the Character Actors Dining Society. We have a text thread that he's a part of, and he's the most entertaining there as well. But
Oh my God.
when Maisel first came out, you know, I expected to not get a rave from Richard because, like most of us, he can be a little jealous. But he said,
What he said?
Kevin, I'll be honest. You're very good in the show. No, you are. You're very good. I would have done it a little differently.
Of course.
Did they know I live right down the street? You're an out-of-towner. I don't know why you were hired. You're very good.
Different.
No, you are. You are. Like it pains him to say it.
I got a hold of his phone number and I started texting him.
I'll give it out now if your listeners would like it.
So I start mentioning these names, and he goes, "How do you know these people?"
Yeah.
He's like questioning me about all this kind of stuff because I want him to do the podcast, and he keeps asking me, I don't understand how you know all these people.
I'll text him on the way out and tell him he has to do it.
and then where we first met was, do you remember? There was a restaurant called Angus McKindo's that was next to where they did the producers, and I was obsessed with the producers. And he was playing Bialystok at the time, and I went upstairs, and he was sitting there, and he looked at me, and he goes, "You look familiar with his voice."
Yeah.
And but he certainly couldn't remember that because that was probably 20 years ago. But we have followed each other along the way. I just find him to be hysterical,
fascinating, great, and lifts everything. There's a documentary. This is a documentary now. The television show, and there's an episode where they send up a Sondheim recording of a musical album of the musical, and Richard Kind steals it. He's brilliant beyond belief.
He steals everything.
I mean, he really does.
And then I listening to some commercial one day for some medicine or something, and
we give him shit about that.
I texted him and I said, "Are you doing the voiceover?" And he texts back, "I got to feed the kids."
Yeah.
That's what he said back to me,
I think that's what he sent me too.
So
apparently they want to go to college.
He was telling me about, I don't know, he's got dogs and stuff. I don't know. Every story he tells me, I just laugh.
Yeah.
Sit back and laugh my ass off. You have no idea how much fun this has been for me. I could sit back and listen to these stories forever. It's the longest we've ever done. And
I'm your John Landis. He held the record on mine of 2 hours and 52 minutes.
2 hours 50.
Thankfully, we didn't go that long.
Oh no, it's fantastic. Thank you for doing this.
Well, my pleasure.
And
as you can see, I enjoy talking about myself.
You know, one thing we always ask on the show, and I didn't get to it before I sign off.
More than the Richard Kind?
We talk about overcoming obstacles, and the whole point of the show was. People go to a Broadway show, watch a movie, TV show, and they go, "Boy, those people who were doing that, they're so lucky." And when I say to them is, they're not lucky. They work their asses off to get there. What you don't know is the obstacles that they had to jump over. And why do some people go around, under, around, over and through, and other people walk away and go, I think I'll sell insurance. Did you have major obstacles to overcome? And if so, what were they?
Not so much in stand-up, because I was a so-called natural or whatever. In fact, very early on, you remember Marty Cohen? Yeah, Party Hardy Marty on Solid Gold.
Yep.
But he was big in San Francisco, one of the absolute bigs.
Who was his partner?
Jim Samuels.
Yeah, Samuels and Cohen.
And so Marty, I was a 20-year-old pisher, and he came up to me afterwards and said, when your material catches up to your stage presence, you're really going to be something.
Oh, no kidding.
And I took it to heart. It really meant the world to me. But in terms of acting, because I had no formal training, the obstacles were, not exaggerating, at least 200 auditions where it not only felt like they were saying, not you, it felt like they were saying, how about anyone but you
really
is going to get this?
Yeah, so what kept you going?
Young and just blind faith. And I mean, the first woman manager, first representative of any kind who saw me do stand-up at the Improv and said, do you want to be an actor? I said, very much. She said, come to my office. I'll see what we can do. And I went to her office. She gave me what's called sides, a couple of pages of a scene. She said, go in the outer office, memorize this, come back in, let me see what you can do. I came in and did it. And afterwards she said, well, listen, acting's not for everyone. The stand-up's going well, right? So that's good. And so that wasn't an obstacle, but it was certainly someone in show business
who said
to me, not you.
Really?
You don't have anything. And at these auditions, because of the no training, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to break down a scene. I didn't at all. So I have no one to blame but myself, and I had to learn basically how to audition, which Dana Carvey helped me with because he had moved out to LA a few years before me. And those auditions were, and I tell other people who ask, younger people, and now I just say, you've got a phone. You can make a movie. Get away from me. You have no idea what I went through. You never will.
It's so different. And
you're limited by your imagination. And when I started the chat show in 2009, I also started a mantra. If you're not creating, you're waiting. And I was just telling the great Steven Weber and Carol Leifer, a great writer, at lunch yesterday. It's still true. because Weber was like, these strikes, I'm out of work. And well, get out your phone and make some videos and
figure it out
and post them, and people will love you again.
Yeah, I always say you're responsible for your own happiness. And the other thing I say is nobody woke up this morning and said, I got to go get Marc Summers a job today.
That's
you know,
right.
you got to make it happen on your own.
Yeah. If you're not creating, you're waiting, honestly. And in life too, not just whatever you'd like your career to be.
Yeah.
Be proactive. And yeah, it turns out it's not a rehearsal. This is it. This is all we got, Mark.
That's all we got.
And I was glad to spend 3 hours in whatever room this is on the other side of Los Angeles. We had to find a Sherpa halfway here. This is a combination of all the people I was just doing.
We've been unwrapping Kevin Pollak. It's been fantastic. Continued success, health, and happiness. And we should go have lunch.
Thank you, Mark. I'd love to.
Okay, be well.
Not
Take
today.
care. See you next week. Marc Summers Unwraps is a production of Believe Limited, created by me, Marc Summers, and Jessica Richmond. Produced by Keith Korneluk and Jessica Richmond. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Ryan Geelan. Post-production support from Joshua Sterling Bragg and Believe Limited. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast player, and if you really love it, why don't you leave us a rating and a review? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Marc Summers Unwraps.